Hey guys, what's going on? So I just got done streaming. As I explained to people who are watching me stream, I'm going to try and stream every day between now and the launch on the 30th. We just kind of talked about a lot of stuff today in the stream. That's kind of what my plan is going forward, just kind of a place for us all to hang out and kind of get hyped together. But anyways, someone shared that WoWhead had just released a interview, and I wanted to kind of discuss that real quick with you guys. Just kind of go over it, give you my thoughts on it, and also just kind of read it for you guys too. Sometimes it's nice to just be able to listen to the audio. Okay, so this is just an interview that happened, and the first question they had was, will there be hardcore realms for Season of Discovery? And they more or less say that no, they're keeping that with hardcore for now. Moving over to the Season of Discovery questions, they asked, where did the inspiration of Season of Discovery come from? And they said, from the start, seasonal realms were meant to be a place where we could try experimental game design, mix up the meta, and offer new gameplay experiences for Classic WoW players. And this gives them an area where we can take some risks and learn lessons from our risks. And that is exactly what they're doing with Season of Discovery. They're really liked the fact that they had that they had the content capped at level 30 in the Classic WoW beta, and a lot of players were making, new best in slot lists and doing all that stuff with the low levels, new gameplay ideas and trying new things that had never been done before. So it was exciting for them to see that players had emergent gameplay pop up, and I personally played during that time, and I was telling people in the stream today that the level 30 cap stuff was probably the most fun I've ever had in WoW, and that is not a joke. So if the level 25 experience can be anything like it was at level 30, oh, we're in for a treat. They said we have a decent idea of what players will do, but we know that Classic is we know to never underestimate our players, and then they continue to surprise us. And that's literally what I was telling people in the stream today. It's like, I would not be surprised if some people found a way to go and farm the Furbolg medicine pouch from the level 50 Furbolgs at level 25, just to get that offhand. People are that crazy in this game, whether it's like, forming a raid and doing it. Anyways, people do crazy stuff, but they then ask, sometimes the degeneracy of Classic players can be pretty astounding. And they said, yeah, there's a good mix of degeneracy and casual players in Classic. We love them all in lots of ways in Classic. It is truly special that you can just grind something constantly and the power of your character can be reflected by the effort you put into it. So basically saying like, yeah, we like the fact that you can be a degenerate. And then they said, speaking of degeneracy, I've heard a lot about the positive feedback on the ranking system with Classic Era, and this is the change ranking system that they did. As of right now, many players are just going through Alterac Valley to get ranks while avoiding actual player versus player content. And then this means that many of the purists of Classic WoW, they just want to rank up in Warsong Gulch and actually fight the opposing faction. And unfortunately, there are so few games of Warsong Gulch that actually pop on the realms. And they're basically asking, is there anything that we can do about this and for the players going forward? And then the developers answer with, this is a question that is applicable even for Wrath Classic and Kata Classic. Warsong exists amongst the game, and it is an evergreen piece of content. It is sacred it is sacred even. And we want to make sure that there is a way for players to choose Warsong Gulch and not feel punished, that it isn't as effective or efficient as something else. I will say there are rated battlegrounds in Cataclysm, and this is very exciting, and we hope that players can enjoy that. I'm for improving the player experience, the excitement of the community tournaments that we've seen with the Mock Raw tournament. People still want to PvP, and we want to support that to the best that we can. Now, still on the topic of PvP, can you explain the Ashenvale open world PvP event? From what we got, sounds sort of like Alterac Valley. Well, it is a bit different because you have to queue for Alterac Valley, and it takes place in an instance zone. But if you're an open world outdoor area, you are up against everyone else. The rewards we're putting in, which have different levels, there's a reward for participating. There are also camps, some special characters like a Horde Battle Master. These camps are spread out throughout the zone, and maybe it is in your favor to defend or attack these camps. Participating in the event, you also will reward you with reputation for Warsong Gulch, and they're adding new items to these reputation vendors. There are also going to be Ashenvale only mounts that we can use within the zone, and then winning the event will also reward you with an item that is an on-use world buff. Guys, this is crazy though. You can even bring these to your raid and save them for later. So yes, we love world buffs in Classic. We've all talked about world buffs, and we were talking about it in stream today, and this just shows you how much Blizzard is willing to kind of take some risks, change some things up, and I really think it's very true what they set up here with the seasonal servers. It allows us to take risks and learn lessons. So it's easier for Blizzard to do things like this and for it to go poorly because it's just a seasonal server, right? It's not set in stone. So the fact that they're actually taking these risks is really, really exciting to me. And then they go on to say, what you've just described sounds like it's opening the door for the fabled Ashara Battleground, which was a 40v40 map with 3 lanes similar to Defense of the Ancients, and it was one of the many unfinished projects during vanilla development. What I will say is that I think the outdoor world content that we're building in Ashenvale is more representative of what we want. And we want these discoveries to encourage players to dig into unknown places. We want to build on the existing lore and fantasy of the zones and have more outdoor world content. Now listen to this, guys. Whether that's PvP events or new world bosses, whether there are things to discover that aren't necessarily associated with new abilities, maybe there are new elites in certain zones or new events related to the fishing tournament. So guys, this stuff is so cool. I mean, like, we all wanted Classic Plus, but the fact that they're saying this is a lot of changes, you have to understand, like, and they're talking about wanting to do a lot of open world stuff, and they're even hinting at new world bosses. Like, this is big for them to be doing this many things to Classic WoW. I could see all these things going on in, retail or an expansion. Like, that's not too crazy to think of. But the fact that this is coming with Season of Mastery, when you think about the first Season of Mastery, it didn't go so well. So they could have totally scrapped the idea. But they're coming back with this next season, and they're making a lot of changes, which is actually pretty surprising to me, because the original Season of Mastery, like I said, wasn't received very well, and it had very few changes. So to see them just kind of pull a 180 and really dive into this and kind of commit is amazing to see. Season of Discovery Phases and Balance. Since we're only level 25, could we technically go into the higher level zones and possibly enter or encounter a discovery for higher level content like a Phase 2 discovery? And they said, the runes that you get access to into the higher level zones will not be accessible at the launch of the game. So this basically just clarifies that there will be other runes that we haven't seen that are coming out later. And we kind of discussed this today when we were going over the rune system in chat. The rune system, if you look at it, some classes kind of seem a little bit underwhelming. But we have to understand this is not their full toolkit. For example, if you look at if you look at any of the priest runes, none of them have to do with shadow form, because shadow form isn't available at level 25. So when the next iteration, or the next phase, I should say, and we get to level 20, or excuse me, not 25, we get to level 40, then there could be some really good shadow priest shadow form runes. So we have to understand that not all the runes are out in the game right now, and probably see a lot more, which obviously is exciting. Okay, let's get back to this. But you can most certainly get a group together and go kill higher level monsters in the zones. So this what we were talking about earlier too. We weren't sure if the higher level zones would be gated or if you could go in. It sounds like everything's still open. You're just capped at level 25. So it's kind of go in at your own risk, I should say. We want each phase to be a moment in Season of Discovery. Phase 2 will be level 40, then 50, then 60. So I do find it kind of interesting that they chose 25 outside of like choosing 30. I don't know why they did that, to be honest. Maybe they just thought that level 30 was too strong for certain classes, maybe, or I'm not sure, but interesting nonetheless that they chose 25, then 40, then 50, then 60. I'm guessing there will be tons of balance patches, or will you just let it be? We're going to do our best, which isn't going to be perfect. So this already is basically saying that, yeah, if something's broken, they'll try and fix it. To find outliers for certain rune combinations that might be too extreme. Classic isn't a perfectly balanced game. We definitely know that. And we hope to elevate certain classes that struggle to be relevant. We don't want to nerf classes really, but we want every class to feel really good. If there are things that trivialize the game and make it not fun to play, absolutely we're going to go in and do some balancing. Okay, so this sounds good, but it's kind of the best of both worlds, right? They want to let things be a little unbalanced. They're not going to worry too much about that, but if things are like really broken or just ridiculous, they'll go in and fix them. So that's a good middle ground, I think. That's a great word to use, trivialize, because one of the biggest fears for myself and other classic players is that runes might really juice up or jack up the power level of your character. And what makes WoW Classic so special is that the world is very dangerous. And then he goes about asking, are the developers worried that the world might be trivialized by the player power gained from runes? And again, this is one thing that we had talked about as a concern. 100%. If we need to increase the difficulty of open world to counterbalance the power of runes, we'll do it. I'm telling you guys, they're killing it right now. Every concern that players have and everything that people were really worried about so far seems to be kind of something that they have already thought about themselves. And at the end of the day, we want players to feel more powerful with the runes. Oh, interesting. At the end of the day, we want players to feel more powerful with the runes. So this is to say that like they want the world to be difficult, but it sounds like they're still acknowledging that the runes are going to make you feel more powerful. That is a selling point of Season of Discovery. It's something new. It's something special. There should be something that makes you feel more powerful. That might be some tuning, or that might be some tuning changes to that outdoor world. Okay. So still, they're kind of saying they want to make sure things feel difficult, but like are willing to let it feel like you're a little bit stronger, in some senses, I guess. If you make the outdoor world stronger, what happens to little Billy, who started Season of Discovery late, hasn't read up on all the WoWhead guides on where to find all the new discoveries, and is getting smacked by the open world because it was tuned up? There will exist challenges for us within the season, such as something like this, and I think for Billy, it's okay if he runs into a wall. If you can't overcome a challenge, there's something available for him to learn and face that challenge. Maybe I should do some more research, ask my guild, ask a friend. So see, this is the stuff that's kind of exciting to me, is where like those runes are there for you to discover. But then once someone discovers it, it's not like this is a bad thing, that you can go out and find them without having to discover them yourself. I think that's a good thing. It kind of creates a community. Like, if I'm playing an alt character, I might not really want, like, for my main character, discovering and finding the runes on my own, I feel like is exciting. I'm going to do my best to actually go out there and actively seek them out. However, once the game's been out for a while and I'm playing an alt, I probably can't be bothered to find stuff. So I'd rather ask or do some research or, ask my guild. But that's not a bad thing either. That just, in my opinion, it helps with the kind of community stuff. And so he's saying ask a friend on where to find the runes to pick up, and I think not being afraid of the natural friction is important. And that's not an excuse for us, but we want it to feel right. We don't necessarily want to make the world stronger. Ideally, it's just light touches, dealing with balances with runes as well as we can. All good things so far, guys. Okay, let's see. Season of Discovery, future and new tier sets. Okay, so you tease Karazhan Crypts and other stuff at high levels. What is the plan with Molten Core, Blackwing Lair, AQ40, and Naxxramas? Are we going to get these raids in Season of Discovery? I think players will want to be able to express themselves as their character in these iconic locations. Okay, I'm glad they said that. I was scared for a second. I think there is some room for us to prove additional challenges in old raids. Okay, so they're actually talking about tweaking stuff. Whether that's something we something we borrow from Season of Mastery, or something new entirely. Ultimately, people want to be able to flex and show off their new builds, their runes, and show Ragnaros who's boss. Those raids are still such an iconic part of Classic WoW, and we can't take those out. Okay, so this sounds good. It sounds like they're more or less saying the raids are going to be the same old raids, but they possibly will tweak stuff. Well, wait a minute. If you bring back all those raids, what are you going to do for the tier sets? Are you going to make a mage healer tier set or a warlock tank set? I think that's on the table. Okay, this is vague but good, because I was discussing that with people today. It's like if you have a balanced or a druid now that's playing they're not playing restoration, and they're coming in to DPS and provide Wind Fury Totem for the groups, they need to be incentivized with gear, just like any other player. And the problem is, right now, the only gear that they're ever going to want are like rogue off pieces and things like that. And then that just makes rogues have to roll against another class on certain things. So I would really like to see more gear added, or some kind of ability to switch your tier set to, you know, a different kind of, I don't know, spec, you know, like tuned to a certain spec. Okay, so a lot of people are really excited for Season of Discovery, but there are some players already hesitant because they don't want, or they don't know what will happen at the end of Season of Discovery. Are their characters going to be moved to Classic Era realms and lose all their new gear, runes, and new spells? Okay, yeah, this is interesting. So they say, we are still figuring out the specifics on everything, and we're still trying to determine what's the right thing to do. There may be a version of a era realm of Season of Discovery. Interesting. This is kind of not what you'd expect, though. At the end of the day, seasonal content is where we're trying to take lots of risks and we're learning lessons. There's going to be some things that people really like and some things that people don't really like. We're totally fine with that. If there is a place where the greatest aspects of the season can live, that's where we want our Season of Discovery players to go. There will 100% be a place where characters can migrate once the season ends. Maybe we will just take some runes away, but some runes are also so beloved that we can incorporate them into any realm they go to. We aren't really sure yet. We're listening to community feedback on this. Interesting, guys. I don't know. This one's tough because it's like seasonal content is supposed to be, well, seasonal. And we talked about this today when I was streaming. It's like you start hemorrhaging players from one expansion to the other, or you're moving all these players around to different servers. And the problem is then none of the servers feel alive. So if you have like a TBC server, a Wrath server, a Cataclysm server, an Era server, a seasonal server, a retail server, that's like a lot of stuff to deal with. And players are probably going to play on multiple servers, but they're going to spend time more on one than another. So we already saw this with Classic Era servers where they were basically dead for quite a while. They did get a huge resurgence in players, but I'm scared about this kind of stuff happening. And then, like they said, it's like with the rune system, it's like you can't just let a person with runes go over to Classic Era servers. They're going to be completely overpowered. They're going to have abilities that other people won't. So, and they're also going to ruin the gameplay for people who really just want the true Classic server feel, which I totally am fine with. I think that the Classic Era servers have a place in the game, and there's enough people over there that do not want anything to do with Season of Discovery that I think this would be kind of a slap in their face. So I don't know what they're going to do with this. It will be interesting to see. I guess it'll probably come down to a lot of it will come down to like how successful the servers are, and you know, where things go from there. But that is the interview. Definitely some big takeaways here for me would be just the fact that this is really showing that they're doing stuff. Like, this isn't just like Season of Mastery 1, right? The first Season of Mastery was more or less a flop. Not much was changed. The things that were changed were pretty small outside of like the rating changes. And then so many people just quit the game after they realized it was more or less recycled stuff. And also TBC was out and everyone had just played through Classic. So there's a lot of reasons why Season of Mastery might not have done very well, but I did not expect this, right? I expected, if there was a second Season of Mastery, I expected some changes, but like fairly small. This is some big stuff. They're talking about adding world bosses. They're talking about other zones being tweaked in the future. They're talking about new, like completely new raid encounters with Karazhan Crypts. Like, this is a big undertaking. This isn't just like some little tweaks here and there. So I'm extremely excited and happy about all this stuff. And I think everyone should be excited about this. I think, well, the only person I would say who's not excited about this at all would be like someone who doesn't want to see any single changes in Classic. But outside of that, even if you are someone who wants to see changes but not in this direction, this is still good, because this is showing that Blizzard is definitely looking in that direction of taking Classic to its next steps and are willing to introduce new content and try new things. So even if you don't like the approach that they're doing with Season of Discovery, this just shows that they're willing to do things in the future, and it should incentivize you to kind of make your voice heard and discuss these things with the community and really give your opinion on stuff, because I think a lot of this is community based and community driven. We might see that in the future Blizzard kind of starts to take more and more of a heavy-handed approach on things and make things more their choices, how they do with retail. But right now I think a lot of this comes down to player agency and us communicating with Blizzard on what we like, what we don't like, and that can be translated into future seasons. So all this stuff is super exciting for me, guys. I will slowly get out the rest of the rune stuff, but to be honest, with all the things that have been happening, I don't really know how much value to put on the rune videos, because it shows that this is just a snippet of what we're getting, right? This is like, if I do a deep dive on Druid runes, right? That's Druid runes for level 25. That's not a bad thing necessarily to talk about the level 25 Druid runes, but so much will change by the time we hit 40 and then subsequently 50. So I will put those videos out, but they're probably not going to be quite as in depth as I first initially thought. Because to me, I kind of was thinking that like these runes are kind of a lot of what we'll get. But more and more, I'm starting to realize that this is just scraping the surface, guys. This is just the beginning of the Season of Discovery. These are just the runes that we'll have at level 25. So I don't know about you guys, but at this point, if you're not feeling pretty hyped and excited, then maybe Classic Plus isn't for you, because this is definitely right down the pipe of what we were all wanting with Classic Plus. Now, did I want a bunch of Kata abilities and Wrath abilities in my classes? No, to be honest, I didn't. But this stuff still excites me so much because it shows the possibilities that we will have in the future. And you really, people always say you can't knock it till you try it. I kind of feel the same way with this. I'm definitely going to put my best foot forward, try all this stuff out with Season of Discovery before I start to kind of crap on it too much. So anyways, hopefully this video was helpful for you guys who didn't want to sit out there and read, or sometimes it's just fun to kind of hear someone's take on things. So anyways, I will catch you guys in the next video, and like I said, I will try to be live every single day between now and launch, and so definitely stop by and we can kind of chat about the changes and see what everyone else is feeling. Okay, take care. Bye, guys.